Hey everyone, and happy Monday. In today's video, I want to break down one of the more divisive topics on Vivi and Ecomi, and that's their marketing strategy. Since this is a Meta Monday episode, I will of course take a data-based approach to this, but we'll also lean quite a bit on the wider marketing world outside of Vivi. Now, I wanted to do this video back when the Cookie Monster was dropped. I know it was only a few weeks ago, but with all the drama, it feels like it was a few months ago. Now, the thing is, it was the last few cold days here in Southern Ontario, so I thought I'd try to enjoy it. Let's just say I can't wait for summer. I've also been a bit under the weather, so I might sound a bit off. But back to Vivi's marketing, a lot of people were upset about that and generally have not been happy with it overall. Now, the Variety.com article definitely was not perfect, and I have my own criticisms with it. But there are some good aspects to it that people are not talking about. Right off the bat, one of my issues was that the criticisms were in reaction to the negative tweet thread. In other words, criticisms were all in hindsight. People saw some negative reaction to it, then deemed it a failure. But what if Ecomi told us about that marketing campaign with Variety.com before the article dropped? So let's forget about the general public reactions for it for a second. Here's a little info. They have about 40 million monthly readers. 40 million. And here are probably the most important couple of stats here. Number one, their audience's second most liked interest was online television, but more importantly, the other websites their audience visits include The Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, IMDb, and Rotten Tomatoes. These all cover entertainment, Hollywood movies, and television. Are you starting to see the connection here? A lot of entertainment, Hollywood movie, and television brands are partnered with Vivi. This market was researched and targeted. If the article was announced prior to it dropping, I guarantee you the headlines would have been mass marketing of Vivi to millions, bull run incoming, Grails going to the moon. It's easy to say we could have done better when you're already dealt the results. In sports, that's being an armchair quarterback. If Doug Flutie's Hail Mary got intercepted, people wouldn't have called it a brilliant pass, and everyone would have said, hey, I would have thrown it better. But it's known as a great pass because we already know the result. Again, there are aspects that I do believe need improvement, but there was clearly more strategy behind this. Before we get into both the positive and negative sides, since this is a Meta Monday, let's look at the drop and see how Cookie Monster did numbers-wise. Overall, the drop itself definitely could have been better. When I checked last week, Cookie Monster sold about 36% of the available 5,555 mints. But that also means it added $119,000 of top-line revenue from a possible $333,000. $119,000 is more money than other platforms made all of Q1, but at the same time, without knowing Ecomi's margins or cost of goods, I can't say for sure if it's good or bad, so that's why I'll leave it as it could have been much better. When we look at the population distribution of who landed the drop, it's similar to most other drops with a large proportion of wallets at the lowest tier and a clump of mid-tier wallets who I've coined the survivors of the last bull run. As of recording this, most held the collectible, as shown here with the holders in green, and those who sold, who flipped it, they're shown here in blue. It's currently selling below retail, and if you want historical prices for this or any other Vivi collectible, I use, of course, cherrycharts.com. I already contribute to their weekly newsletter, which is filled with great information, and their site has a ton of features like custom buys and sells to determine your P&L and the MCP maximizer, just to name a few. They're currently upgrading literally today, Monday, to version 3.0, bringing even more features. Now you can sign up with my affiliate link, Hodl Fandom, for 50% off your first 3 months. Now, I'll put all the info down in the video description below if you are interested. Now here's something interesting. Let's compare the effect of two Vivi marketing campaigns, Comic-Con and Cookie Monster. I think most of you would say Comic-Con was 1,000 times more successful. Well, if we look at unique wallets during and after both events, it went up by just a small amount. If we look at those side by side, the increases equate to about 0.1%. It increased that small amount and then had a slow decline. Comic-Con was our Super Bowl, where the FA of Miles Morales was announced. That had the same impact as a marketing campaign and marketing initiative that was deemed by most of the community as a failure. Comic-Con did do one unique and important thing though. It was tying the Vivi brand and Marvel together. But again, it did not lead to an immediate and material increase in users. So were both failures? Both yes and no, in my opinion. It was and is succeeding when you look at the long-term goals of brand leaders in regards to brand awareness and brand recognition. Brand awareness is the measure of how much people are familiar with your particular brand, and brand recognition is the visual cues people use to identify your brand. Vivi clearly worked on their brand recognition with the recent the heart rebranding with the phrase collectors at heart. And as I mentioned months ago, this is usually the first step of bigger marketing initiatives. And we are clearly seeing that now with campaigns with Variety.com and paid ads on Instagram. Some people think that this is just marketing jargon, but brand recognition and brand awareness are the first step in converting and obtaining new customers. It's about getting your brand out there in those who you believe may be the proper target demographic. And when they are ready to purchase your product, the hope is they'll think of yours. Many times this is not right away. Myself, for example, saw a few ads for that new chicken Big Mac, and I rarely get burgers, especially at McDonald's, because for what you get for the price and the calories, it just doesn't make sense. But I was hungry one day and I thought of it, so I thought I'd try it out. It sucked, it really did, but the marketing got me. It got me to buy one. On the other hand, there's a billboard outside my condo for a lime-flavored beer. And even though that's not my thing, I prefer the exact opposite, actually. I like stouts like Guinness, and I like my whiskey smoky and rich, like a Lagavulin. But if one day I want to drink sour pea in a green can, I'll go grab one of those. So again, this really should have been treated as a longer-term strategy, priming potential customers for when they are ready to get into the NFT markets as buyers. They did miss the mark, however, in the short term. User growth clearly didn't move a material amount with these campaigns, and in the case of Cookie Monster, it sold about 1/3 of its total mints. This is where I believe they could have focused on also the crypto-centric crowd. This group, this demographic, they get NFTs. Maybe another campaign with George from Cryptos R Us, or another big crypto-centric YouTuber. Our crowd, our space, they understand NFTs, and even those who are just familiar with the 2D JPEGs, at least they understand the value proposition of NFTs. The general public at this point in time does not. I could have told you that, and that would have been their general response. Now, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here, making that statement in hindsight. Most don't know this, but 2 years ago, I was one of the first and few people to try to bring awareness of VV Comic NFTs on the Marvel and Marvel Comics subreddit. This was before I created my channel, and this was on my personal account. And they absolutely roasted me. This was shortly after the NBA Top Shot NFTs were at their peak, and FOMO in our space was really high. Now we're in a bear market with a ton of high-profile scams revealed. So yeah, I could have told you. Be prepared for this kind of negative response, but I also would not have stopped them because it's part of leading this space to create new NFT fans from existing movie and television fans. It ultimately didn't work in the short term, but it isn't a total loss in the long term. In addition to maybe adding in a focus to the crypto-centric crowd, I think the Variety.com article struck out with its structure. Ecomi saw the backlash and retroactively tried to add in this charity work. And also at the bottom of the article is the carbon neutral blurb. Let's learn this lesson and put those at the very top so it's the first thing people see, or maybe even sandwich them. You know, the good old sandwich paragraph that we all learned in elementary school. Also, where it missed the mark is with the pricing. When you're marketing to the crypto crowd, maybe a $60 NFT might make sense because they value the speculation of the FA on the blockchain. I get it. There are physical collectibles that are in that price range, but again, let's be aware that the general crowd sees NFTs as a negative thing right now. If you're marketing to these people, you can't have that at a $60 USD price point. I was putting out videos in maybe May or June of last year, so almost a year ago, and I'm pretty sure I was the first of the VV fam highlighting that the upcoming macroeconomic woes won't be good for speculative assets like crypto and NFTs. I hope you listen because the economy hasn't done well since then. So they need to know that 60 USD, which is like 80 Canadian plus Play Store fees, is too big a barrier, especially in this economy. I recommend that if you're advertising to the non-crypto crowd, like another Variety.com article or of the like, it should be low price, so low barrier, plus higher mints. Before I get into my biggest critiques, let's get into the other things they're doing right. They're working on their SEO or search engine optimization. This is basically improving Ecomi's digital footprint, so Google, Bing, and other search engines are likely to show VV and Ecomi in search engine results pages. This isn't the sexy traditional marketing everybody wants, like paying a celebrity for a shout out, but in a digital age, digital marketing strategies like this is what's needed and have been proven to be successful in the past. I also think they've done a very good job with the old VV and 3fellow. Some people don't know this, but when I first started my channel, the intent was to bridge the fandom and the crypto side. I realized there was a massive gap between the crypto and the fandom, and most into our VV NFTs were just the crypto people. So as someone who has been in crypto for years, as somebody who has read comics for decades, it seemed like a good fit. My channel has obviously expanded since then, and maybe I need to do my own rebranding. But I think that new VV channel is doing great for the marketing aspect of it. It's doing a superb job and probably doing much better than I could have ever done. Over time, it can help bridge the two worlds, but it won't be overnight. I do have a small piece of advice. Right now, the channel is focused on educating crypto people on the fandom, but there's a big opportunity to bridge the fandom to the crypto side as well. Let's get into my bigger critiques. Now, I've already mentioned some like the Variety article structure and the pricing. Now, I feel the biggest issue is rooted in the marketing and sales is disconnected from the tech side. To me, it feels like they developed a great multi-year plan in 2021, a plan that we all invested in. And if everything moved together, it was a juggernaut. On the sales side, you had planned drops with those 100 plus licensors. You promised to sell their products and mass market their products to grow this digital space, to grow this digital experience. Elements like VVverse can help sell that experience, or gamification that can help improve retention and add to that experience. Neither of those have been built, but because of contractual obligations, you couldn't stop the drops, you couldn't stop the marketing or the promises. That also might be a part of why the Variety.com article didn't go so well. It really was just a big sales ad of speculative and fairly priced assets. Well, the current experience is you buy something and in 10 minutes it drops 20% in value. Listen, don't get me wrong, Mitch is doing a great job and I'm seeing results with him on board. I think he was just given too many half-broken, half-completed projects to finish, so I don't envy the work he has to do. I just wish he was on board earlier. Sorare is an example of simple gamification that can help support these marketing initiatives to the masses. It's simple, it's free, and it leads many metrics on the global NFT marketplace. In fact, if you look at what users on Sorare also visit, they visit video games and sports websites. If we pull up Variety.com's once again, Vivi's target was spot on. But again, there's one big difference. Sorare isn't selling high-priced products with nothing else to do on their app. They're selling simple gamification at a great price point. That's why they are leading the charts. What's more telling when we do a comparison with Sorare, NBA Top Shot, Vivi, Recur, Palms DC Marketplace, and Quid, we get the following from a marketing firm called SEMrush. It's a great resource to see how a company's marketing initiatives are performing. The authority score here measures the impact of the web page, but let's look at the monthly visits. 9.5 million users for Sorare. Sorare is partnered with the MLB, NBA, soccer, or football if you're across the pond. This is what big licenses and simple gamification can do. Top Shot and Vivi are close in second and third, and way down the charts is the Quody Fingers competition. Recur, Palms DC, and Quid. Since we're talking about competition and marketing strategy, why doesn't Vivi go after the competition's users? Well, here's the thing. Those guys already went after our users and our influencers because honestly, it's a pretty smart move. They were going after the low-hanging fruit, people who were already fans of comics, pop culture, art, sci-fi, and on top of it all, crypto. Vivi defined that slice of the pie, and then they went after it. Vivi doesn't need to go after those because, number one, there's already a lot of overlap in the users. Number two, their monthly visitors is nothing compared to Vivi. And number three, Vivi is leading the adoption, not going for sloppy seconds. It's similar to Coca-Cola and RC Cola in the 90s. Coke went after everyone to make them drinkers of their products, and they're still doing that. That's harder to do and requires the heavy lifting. RC Cola, they didn't have that power, so they just marketed to get Coke's customers by branding themselves as different. The value brand, and they have a unique taste, or whatever that means. Both strategies work. RC Cola has been around for a while, but there clearly are big differences where one is a leader and the other is not. So I hope you can at least take away from this video that the marketing in the digital world is much more complex than most realize. And it's not simply paying Tom Brady to wear a Vivi shirt. Many of the moves, especially when it comes to a paradigm shift into digital collecting, they're long-term plays. With that said, it hasn't been without its flaws. I've highlighted some of them and my recommendations to do better next time. The biggest issue is the disconnect between the tech and the rest of the operations, in my opinion. I know many are disappointed. I am too, but at least you can see some examples like Sorare and how big partnerships, plus just the most simple of developments that can make Vivi more than a marketplace, you can see that can drastically change where it sits on the charts. Thanks for watching.